Hey guys, welcome back. On today's episode, we're going to learn how to add validation to our Livewire components. So right now, for example, if we go ahead and we submit an empty form, which we can do, we will submit it, but obviously we get some database errors. Or if we have, for example, duplicate emails, we'll still get errors. So it's important for us to add some validation and also show the validation errors. Now to make our validation errors look a bit nicer, and also we're going to be needing it for later episodes, I'm just going to go on the Tailwind CSS website and go on the documentation. I'll have the link in the description, guys. Select place CDN. I just copy this CDN link so we can do some simple styling. And to add it, we can go inside our welcome.blade and paste it here. That's all we need to do. And I have prepared some styling beforehand, just super simple stuff. If you don't care about the style, you can just ignore this. And you can maybe copy styling I have here. Basically, just add this class to your inputs and this to your buttons. Okay. If you don't care about the style, you can just ignore this part. Everything else is exactly identical to the previous episode. And if we reload the page, our form looks slightly better, okay? All right, so how can we now add validation? Validation on Livewire is quite easy. It's somewhat similar to how you would do it in your controllers. But the difference is you can access your this or your component and then call in a validate method on it. Now, from here, you have two options on how you want to validate your form or your properties. The first one is you can manually pass in the rules inside this array, and then, for example, say pass in the rules for everything you want to validate manually. So for example, the first one is going to be name, so I'll pass in the rules here, and I'm going to say required, and then minimum of maybe 2 characters, and then maximum of maybe 50 characters. And then you can do the exact same thing for email. I'll make sure it's always required. It's a valid email. And then I'm also going to say unique users. This rule is used to ensure that there isn't an email with the same email in our database, so that the email users entered is unique. And then I'll do the exact same thing for password, and I don't know, I just say it's required and should be minimum like 5 characters, something like that. Okay, so you can pass in your validation rules just like this. This is the first way. And in order to view your validation rules, first of all, let's actually see if this works or not. I'll reload the page and I'll create an empty, and I'm clicking on the form, but nothing is being sent. So it is working. However, we can't really see the validation error. So let's go ahead and add those so we can see what is wrong, that our form is not being sent. And this is quite easy to do. This is exactly identical to how you would do it on regular Laravel applications. You can use the error directive that comes with Laravel. And here, VS Code is giving me the auto suggestion. Instead of field, just basically give the name of your property that you're validating. So for us, it's name, and then inside this error and end error, you can pass in what you want to show. Okay, so for me, I'm just gonna add span. I'll give it like a text danger, and I'll make the text small as well. Okay, something like this. And then in order to display the error message, we can just use the variable message. This message is injected by this error directive, so this will always be available. And now that we have that, we can basically copy paste it for every single one of our inputs. Okay, and this one's going to be for password. Now let me add some spacing here so they're not all close together. So that's all we have to do to actually display the error. Very simple. This is exactly how you would do it on your Laravel applications, okay, without a Livewire. So let's go and I'll click on it, and we can see we are getting these errors, and I think this danger should be red. I don't know why I wrote danger. Yep. So now if I like do a quick test, I'll leave one of them empty. We'll get, okay, this field is required, just like that. Okay, and maybe we can get rid of this margin bottom. Actually, we don't need it. Maybe we can switch it to margin top. Why not? Okay, so now that we have this, we have a decent looking form with some basic validation going on. Very easy to do, and you can add in as many validation rules as you want. Anything basically that is accessible to your regular Laravel applications, you can also access inside Livewire. So that's the first method, guys. Now there is a second way where instead of passing in the rules in an array, you can actually define them above your properties, okay? And this uses the new PHP 8.1 annotation feature that was added. So in order to create an annotation, you can do the hashtag sign followed by brackets, and then inside here we can pass in a set of annotations. And Livewire has its own rule annotation, and VS Code is actually suggesting it to me. It's Livewire attributes, and then that's the rule class. And then inside this rule, you can pass in the exact same things we had down there, right? So I can pass in, you can either pass in an array of rules or just a string using the horizontal, vertical line or pipe notation. So here I can say required. I also say minimum of maybe 2 characters and the maximum of 2, the exact same thing. We had maximum of 50, sorry. I'll repeat the same for email, and I'll say maybe it's email and should be unique users. And then for password, I'll just make sure it's unique and I'll give it some minimum requirements. So this is the alternative way of doing validation. This is what I like. So I personally prefer this one. I think it's a bit cleaner and you're not kind of adding unnecessary bulk to your methods. It's also very easy to see, like every validation rule is just above it. So it's very nice. And so throughout the course, I'm going to be using this new syntax instead of passing the validation rules here. And that's all you have to do. Basically just include this.validate in your methods whenever you're handling some sort of action. And Livewire will go ahead and automatically do the validation for you. So let's go test this out, see if this new one also works. I'll submit create form. I'm still getting the error messages, as you can see. And let's go and create a new user. I'll say test user 5. I'm running out of unique names. user@youtube.com, and then I'll give it some random password. I'll click on create. And if I scroll down, you can see we have test user 5. So that is it, guys, for validation. It's quite easy to do with Livewire. Just follow basically either of the 2 methods I showed you guys. I personally prefer this. I think it looks nice. And yeah, that's all for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more contents to get notified when I upload new videos. Have a great day. Bye.